problem. Oops, we go. You know, it's okay. It's hard. Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Complete Streets Commission, June 10th regular commission meeting. This is a hybrid meeting with commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating in accordance with public health guidelines. We're going to do a roll call. I'd like to introduce Complete Streets Commission members and city staff present. I'm Chair Sally Cole. Commissioners present include Athena Arakomos, Jackie Sebrian, Vice Chair Meredith Bergen-Bailey, Commissioner Matthew Raskoff, and Kevin Rennie over here. We only have one person absent, and that's Commissioner Scott Herscher. The city staff present include Joanna Chen, Transportation Manager. Hi, Joanna. Katrine Maki, Senior Transportation Planner. There. Cassandra Cortez, Associate Transportation Planner. Don't see her. Oh, hi, Cassandra. Okay, before we begin, I would just like to announce that we are going to switch the order of the regular business on the agenda out of respect for folks who are here to comment on something other than the work plan. So we will talk about our work plan after we do E2. So we're flipping E2 and E3. And after we go through the minutes and vote on the minutes from the last meeting, we will discuss E3, El Camino Real Bike Lane Ad Hoc Subcommittee findings. And then lastly, change E2 to E3 and adopt the Complete Streets Commission work plan. Hope the public heard that. Thank you very much. All right, moving on. Katrine, would you please provide instructions to the commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Thank you, Chair Cole and members of the Complete Streets Commission. For members of the public who wish to provide public comment for any item on tonight's agenda, after the chair calls for the public comment on that item, if you are in person, we ask that you fill out a speaker card available at the back table and return that to the clerk's desk. If you are participating virtually, attendees on Zoom may engage the raised hand feature, or if you're calling in from a landline or cell phone, press *9 to raise your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please wait for your name to be called. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment. That concludes the instructions, and I return the meeting to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrine. We're now going to do reports and announcements. And under reports and announcements, city staff and commission members may communicate general information of interest regarding matters within the jurisdiction of the commission. No commission discussion or action can occur on any of the presented items. Katrine, do you have any reports and announcements?
I do. There is an advisory body training and appreciation event. It will be Monday, June 29th here at the City Council chambers from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. It is not being run by the same person that ran it in the past, which I think was maybe our city attorney or someone with a legal background. It's actually going to be run by our city clerk this time.
Oh,
so expect new, fresh content and
ready.
I think it'll definitely be worthwhile attending if you're available. I do also believe it will be recorded. So if you have a scheduling conflict, you could watch it another time.
Great.
The other update is that there was a budget hearing last night. There's still a deficit in the budget, and the discussion happened last night. And I think there's one point to clarify that's pertinent to the Complete Streets Commission. The proposed budget reduction for safe routes reflects the removal of a contract support from our current consultants. So it's not the complete elimination of the program.
Right.
While staff plans to absorb parts of the program, scaling back will be necessary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're currently in discussion to minimize those program impacts and reimagine the program to align with this year's council priorities, which was to shift the focus from education to infrastructure. So
yes, I wanted to chime in on that as well. Katrine, I had attended the City Council priority setting meeting earlier this spring, and a few people, including myself and including a very active parent in Safe Routes to School from Encinal, gave some feedback to the council on the Safe Routes program that it would be really useful, we thought, for the emphasis of the program to include maybe infrastructure improvements at the schools. For example, I think the parent gave the example of if we would like to pilot, adding bollards to a crosswalk or something, could the Safe Routes to School program be a conduit by which we could get resources to do that or support to do that? So it sounds, and the reason I bring this up is that it's definitely been on, I think, the council's mind about the emphasis of the program. So it sounds like the reduction that was made was in that spirit or with those priorities in mind.
And then the last piece is that budget adoption will occur at the June 23rd council meeting. So that's when yesterday was public
Great.
hearing and the adoption will be June 23rd.
And so that's really helpful for us to know, because if anyone wants to go and speak about that, they can make a public comment at that meeting. Thank you, Katrine. Anything else? You're done?
That concludes my reports and announcements.
Okay. Under public comment, members of the public may address the Complete Streets Commission on any subject that is not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. You are not required to provide your name or city of residence, but it is helpful. The commission cannot act on items that are not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Katrine, can you please call for general public comment?
For virtual attendees who wish to provide public comment, you may engage the raised hand feature, or if you're calling in from a landline or cell phone, press *9 to raise your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please fill out a speaker card from the back table and bring it to the clerk's desk, and please wait for your name to be called. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment. Our first comment will be Erica Byrne.
Good evening.
Hello, I'm Erica Byrne. I live near the bicycle bridge by San Francisquito Creek. And I was speaking with Commissioner Herscher the other day about how sad I was that Live Oak Street, which is a very short residential street that goes nowhere, how it's been paved curb to curb when the city is facing a budget shortfall, and it's as wide as a highway. When a driver sees a street that's as wide as a highway, they want to go faster. Plus, on a hot day, that much black asphalt makes the street very, very, very hot. And so it would be so much nicer if that street had been made more narrow when they repaved it, and it would have been safer for pedestrians, slowing down traffic. It would make the front yards bigger. It would give the residents a little longer driveway so that maybe they could park another car in their driveway. And I noticed that the adjacent street, Roble, was also made and repaved too wide. And then on the way home, past those streets, I go to University Drive, and that street kind of dead ends at San Francisquito Creek.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculously wide. That would be so much nicer if it were more narrow, and it would save the city money on repaving, maybe 20%. And also, next to the creek, when there's a storm, too much water runs into the street and then it floods downstream. So that was my suggestion, is to look at making some of the residential streets, they're too wide, more narrow, and giving back people their front yards and making it safer. And a couple of pedestrian bulb outs along University would be nice too. That's all I had.
Thank you for your comment.
I'm looking for raised hands. Having no one in queue for further comment, I return the meeting to the chair.
Thank you. And now on to regular business. Under regular business, the commission considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions that require commission approval. The first regular business item tonight is E1, accept the Complete Streets Commission minutes for May 13th, 2026. Is there any clarification from the commission, any clarifying questions before we take public comment? Any clarifying questions on the minutes from last meeting? Hearing no clarifying questions, Katrine, can you call for public comment?
For virtual attendees who wish to provide public comment, you may engage the raised hand feature. Or if you're calling in from a landline or cell phone, press *9 to raise your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please fill out a speaker card from the back table, bring it to the clerk's desk, and please wait for your name to be called. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment. Having no one in queue for public comment, I return the meeting to the chair.
Thank you. Does anyone have any feedback on the minutes? No? Okay. Well, do I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes from the May 13th, 2026 meeting? Jackie, motion? Okay, Commissioner Sebrian, motion, and Commissioner Bergen-Bailey, second. And can I please have a show of hands if everyone who is in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. 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 Okay. It's unanimous with no noes. Okay. Great. So now I'll move on to our new agenda item E2, which is the El Camino Real Bike Lane Ad Hoc Subcommittee findings. Okay, so the Ad Hoc Subcommittee on the El Camino Real Bike Lane will introduce this item. Is that right? Or is it? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I will move through this slideshow fairly quickly as we presented it last week, but please feel free to stop me at any point where the commission, can we not do that? We can't stop at any point. So, okay, I will present it quickly and then we'll go to public comment and come back, but please feel free to give feedback on any part of this. So first, I'll talk about the motivation, the proposal, and then the considerations that we have for the implementation of this project. So next slide. First of all, El Camino, the Grand Boulevard Initiative, which has come to speak to our commission in the past, has been seeking to transform El Camino Real into a safe and vibrant city, a street where people of all ages can travel comfortably. This includes along separated bike lanes along the entire route. They've already constructed many miles of bike lanes in Santa Clara County. Redwood City has also started separating bike lanes on El Camino. And Atherton has already come to discuss with us their plans for El Camino Real changes, which might include the bike lanes. Next slide. But beyond that, our residents are already using these bike lanes. So these are pictures that were taken sort of back to back, actually, on the same day. People just are biking. They want to use El Camino as a bike way, but they bike on the sidewalk to be safe. So in order to protect pedestrians, the best option would be to create a separated bike lane on El Camino where the bikes can go. Next slide. So we broke this up into the northbound proposal and the southbound proposal. The northbound proposal would be from Creek to Middle Avenue. Parking has already been completely removed from El Camino Real on this section, and the lane widths are sufficient for Class 4 bike lanes throughout this segment. So there are no considerations regarding removing parking or anything like that, and we would be able to maximally protect bicyclists in this segment. Next slide. However, on the southbound side, minimum lane width limits our ability to have a protected bike lane in a couple of sections. So in these red sections marked in red here, we would be required to only include up to Class 3 bike lanes here because of the lane width. However, the green sections are still greater than 13 feet, which is enough for a Class 2 or a Class 4 bike lane in those regions. So this would have to be a mix of both separated and non-separated bike lanes for the southbound direction. Go ahead. In addition, there's also a little bit of parking left on the southbound side. So from College to Partridge, there is about 360 feet by our measurements, which is a maximum of 6 parking spaces. And there's also an additional separate section, which has 4 parking spaces that are limited to 1 hour and 4 parking spaces, which are yellow curb loading zone right now. But all of those would need to be removed in order to accommodate the bike lanes on the southbound side. Good. So in summary, the northbound side seems pretty straightforward to accommodate those class 4 bike lanes for the entire segment, excepting at the very end near the intersection where it narrows a little bit. And the southbound side would, because the lane width varies significantly over the segment, it's a little trickier. It would require up to 15 spaces of parking removed. We could have up to 1,300 feet of class 2 or class 4 bike lanes, but the remaining 2 blocks would only be available as a class 3 bike lane. So these 2 blocks, and they're not contiguous blocks, would be required to be less than the separated bikeways that we were targeting. So that's the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Are there any clarifying questions from the commission before we take public comment? All right, then, Katrine, can you please ask for public comment?
For virtual attendees who wish to provide public comment, you may engage the raised hand feature, or if you're calling in from a landline or cell phone, press star 9 to raise your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please fill out a speaker card from the back table, bring it to the clerk's desk, and please wait for your name to be called. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment.
Would you mind displaying the map? So as people are giving comments and whatnot, thank you. We can follow. Thank you.
Maybe that one.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, Justine Burt.
Hello, Complete Streets Commission. My name is Justine Burt. I am the Executive Director of the Palo Alto Transportation Management Association, and I live right over the border in Palo Alto and frequently bike to Kepler's, Cafe Barone, and Little Sky Bakery. So I'm nearby. I want to tell you a little bit about, where's the timer so I don't go over?
I'm pulling it up.
Okay. I want to tell you about the process of being involved with the City of Palo Alto Office of Transportation and the Caltrans planning process for the protected bike lanes on El Camino Real. There was a public hearing workshop where several dozens of bike advocates showed up, and Caltrans had a plan that was they were gonna repave El Camino Real and put in stripes. And the community said, can you make it a little more protective or a lot more protective? And they did. So there are now reflective delineators, I'm sure you've seen. And before the repaving project, my team with the Palo Alto TMA visited 99 businesses on El Camino Real to let them know that repaving was going to happen and 220 parking spaces on the street were going to be taken away. At which point we found out that half of them had not heard about that. And so we were fortunately able to offer free train passes, free bus passes, free bikes, refurbished bikes, $5 a day bike love after our Lyft rides home. So with that outreach, that helped mitigate some of the loss of parking, which customers and some of the people who work there used. After the repaving project, since so many kids bike to school, middle school and high school, the Safe Routes to School program recommends that kids cross El Camino, but not take El Camino. So there are several, I believe 6 or 7 flashing crossings of El Camino in Palo Alto, which really helps a lot and are really effective. And as somebody drives sometimes, doesn't seem like it takes that long. There's no right turn on red, which the city council recommended keeping. The lanes are narrower, which slowed down traffic, which makes for less of a speed differential between cyclists going 10 to 15 miles an hour and drivers that were going 40 to 50 and now seem to go 30 to 35. So you probably know Ken and Catherine, who have been organizing community bike rides with me last summer, and we just started them up 2 weeks ago. And Catherine's doing a great job publicizing it, as is Ken. We hope to get 30, 40, 50 people out. Last summer, we had 6 to 20 people out. And we found quite a few people who joined us on the bike ride last summer who said, I was really nervous to ride on these bike lanes by myself, but I thought I'd go with a group so I would feel safer. And then after a few weeks, Sonia said, I now feel comfortable doing this on my own. So that's how we made the bike lanes more protective and got people more confident to use them. And now I've been going on long bike rides for quite a while since I live in North Palo Alto, and I like to get over to Foothills Expressway to do like a 20-mile ride down to Rancho San Antonio. I find that El Camino is really the fastest way to get over to Foothills and then take off from there. So I applaud your efforts to consider how you can make this happen in Menlo Park, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment.
Next public comment from Charlotte Reed.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. My name is Charlotte Reed, and I'm a candidate for Menlo Park City Council for District 4. Tonight, I'm speaking as a Menlo Park resident and a cyclist. I urge the city of Menlo Park to build these proposed bike lanes for El Camino Real. I, along with my neighbors in District 4 and across the city, know these bike lanes will support our downtown businesses, keep our children safe, and address existing issues related to traffic and parking downtown. Moving forward with bike lanes transforms our city's priorities of climate action, downtown vibrancy, housing, and safe routes from lofty ideals into direct action. Firstly, at a time when there are questions about if our city is adequately prioritizing the needs of our business community, there is real evidence that bike infrastructure supports downtown businesses, not only in Menlo Park, but in neighboring cities too. At a Silicon Valley Bike Coalition community group ride in May, a post-event survey showed more than 50% of riders who participated spent money in the downtowns they visited by bike. Improving infrastructure has been shown to induce demand for that infrastructure. For example, as highways expand, more drivers use those highways. In our case, improving bike access to Menlo Park's downtown would increase visitors to local businesses from both residents and visiting cyclists. Secondly, expanded bike infrastructure creates safer routes to school for our city's children, something they have been asking for and something we must prioritize as the budget for our Safe Routes to School program is reduced in this coming fiscal year. On November 4th of last year, I watched Encinal Elementary fifth graders do an amazing job of showcasing their findings on how to make biking to school safer for their fellow students. Biking to school has been shown to help develop self-confidence, support mental health, and encourage physical activity. And this issue hits home for my family. My husband grew up in Menlo Park, went to Encinal, and credits his daily bike commute to school with helping him develop his independence as a kid. Finally, as the city continues to create more housing density, we must make considerations for parking spaces and car traffic. While there is no single answer to addressing parking and traffic as we build more housing, bike infrastructure is a critical step in improving parking access. Empowering Menlo Park residents to be on their bikes means that folks who need to drive, like older adults, folks with disabilities or mobility issues, and local workers commuting long distances, have access to parking spaces that are closer to the heart of our commercial core and not directly next to oncoming traffic on El Camino, which puts their safety at risk. Before I close, it is very important to note that with the construction of bike lanes on El Camino Real, there has been concern from our city's police department and fire district about the bike lanes impacting their ability to respond in emergencies. If the bike lanes move forward, it is imperative that 1, the city actively works with our police and firefighters to minimize service disruption and identify workable solutions for all parties. And 2, our city's leaders evaluate success stories and testimonials from police and fire leadership from neighboring cities with El Camino bike lanes, including Palo Alto and Mountain. Thank you for your attention.
Sorry about that. Thank you for your comment. 4 seconds to go there. Good for you. Okay, anyone else?
Next, we have Catherine Dumont.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Chair Cole, staff, and commissioners. Catherine Dumont, I live in Menlo Park. I'm on the Housing Commission, but I'm representing myself as a resident. I want to thank the subcommittee for their report and on the UCR bike lanes and the proposal for the Middle to Creek and vice versa routes. Yeah, I think that just reinforce the need for safety and confirming that people do use, as you saw in those photos, people do use the sidewalk. They will ride on El Camino, even though somebody says, well, you could take this route over here. I was involved with the Palo Alto bike lanes section and advocated for them. And also that's where I met Justine, found out about the PATMA program and, understood that, this is bigger than bike riders. It's also about the businesses and what can we do to create a more attractive El Camino Real and a safer El Camino Real and a thriving El Camino Real. And anecdotally, I've ridden in the bike lanes, the protected bike lanes in Palo Alto. It will probably never be this is my favorite thing to do, but it sure is the most direct. And I feel much better about it, having ridden them a number of times now. And it is a delight to ride them with people. And also I've met a lot of people out there with kids on their back of their bikes, and they've told us, when we're waiting for a stoplight, ask them what they think, and they're like, "This is so great! It just makes my commute so much better." And I can attest that when I lived in Palo Alto for a couple of decades, and for a few years I was commuting to Menlo Park to a job that was right on El Camino. And I was so frustrated not to be able to ride. I occasionally felt like I took my life in my hands to ride El Camino to get there faster, more direct. Otherwise, I'd be like, oh, I have to go up here and over here. And so I just appreciate how direct the bike lanes are. And I realize also there's a lot of workers coming from Redwood City, Atherton, and El Camino to Palo Alto. So I'm speaking on behalf for them too. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Next, we have Ken Kirschner.
Good evening, commissioners and Chair Cole and staff. I'm Ken Kirschner, Allied Arts resident and bike advocate. I'm here tonight with a direct request. Please pass a motion recommending the El Camino Real Phase 1 quick build protected bike lanes from Sandhill Road to Middle Avenue as a safe routes priority, and request our exceptional staff to find the path forward. If you set this priority and trust Director Mitch's Public Works team to work their magic, with a little staff time, some grant applications, maybe a consultant, maybe an encroachment permit from Caltrans, and a conversation with South San Francisco about the bollards and equipment from their 2023 El Camino pilot that they ran with Caltrans. That South San Francisco pilot installed Class 4 protected bike lanes in both directions along a 0.3 mile stretch and ran from mid-August through mid-October 2023. That equipment still exists, and their playbook exists, and Menlo Park can be next. Last month, 300 cyclists rode the full 17 miles of El Camino Real from Santa Clara to Menlo Park for Silicon Valley Bike Coalition's 6th annual ECR ride. The photos from that ride tell the story. People of every age and background riding comfortably through Mountain View and Palo Alto, where protected lanes now exist. When the group reached Menlo Park, The protection ended, and so did that sense of safety. That's a design choice we can change. For service workers, hospitality staff, and essential employees who make this community run, a bike or a scooter on El Camino is an economic choice, not a leisure one. Car ownership in the Bay Area runs $12,000 to $15,000 a year. A bike or a scooter is a fraction of that. Protected infrastructure is what makes that choice viable. And right now, Menlo Park is the gap in the corridor that forces people back into traffic or back into a car payment that they can barely afford. These 15 parking spaces in the Phase 1 segment and the businesses and neighbors who use them have alternatives. The side streets immediately adjacent, College, Partridge, and Harvard, offer alternatives within a short walk. The commission can recommend that council weigh the removal of those 15 spaces as part of the CIP approval, with confidence that the surrounding street network can absorb the change. This project is ready to move. Please request of staff and let Menlo Park take its place in the protected corridor that already runs from Mountain View to our doorstep. Thank you.
Thank you for your feedback. Katrine, I have a clarifying question for one of the speakers. May I address that person? Thanks. Justine, I have a question for you about the Palo Alto bike lanes. At any point, the bike lane installation now is complete, correct? So at any point along the bike lanes, is what's separating the bikers and the cars a painted stripe, or is it always something more than a painted stripe?
It's not even half of the bike lanes that have these reflective delineators up, but there are quite a few long runs of them. The buses, the VTA 522 Rapid and the 22 need to get in and out.
Yep.
And so one thing we practice with the community bike rides is, what do we do when a bus pulls in front of us? We decided we wait behind it because often they're go to the stop and then within less than 30 seconds, they're out. So it's
Yeah.
not continuous with the delineator posts that are about this tall with
Yeah.
reflection on them.
Yep.
But it's enough to really feel like it makes the drivers pay attention to not accidentally drive into the bike lane.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you for your answer. Thank
thank
you.
you.
We have one more comment online. Randy Avalos. You're unmuted now.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners, as well. So it's wonderful to hear all these great stories. The one thing I'm not hearing, though, is, something we should be cautious with is, we don't have businesses coming up and saying we want this. And maybe they do. I heard comments earlier that this is going to bring economic development from, travelers on bikes. So if some other businesses from, Palo Alto could talk about that might help bring part of the community, our local businesses on that street that are going to be impacted, and show them how it's going to work out. Just because there is going to be feedback, and they're not in this meeting, it sounds like. So, that engagement worries me. And the other one is just, just have some considerations about accessibility. Removing stops makes sense, or spots makes sense. But those who are unable to bike and, need access to these stores, maybe they won't be able to access these stores in the future. What are the solutions to that? Especially as we get higher density downtown. So just, great to hear all these good stories, but, there's part of the community's missing from this conversation, and we should keep them in mind and to get them on board. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Having no one further in queue for public comment, I return the meeting to the chair.
Sorry, the chair has been writing on this piece of paper. Okay. All right then. Do we have, okay, time for the commission to discuss the subcommittee's presentation. Can you please, let's all give feedback on that and on this concept of the bike lane pilot. Would anyone like to go first? I'm sorry, the members of the commission were Kevin, Scott, and Athena, right?
And Scott.
And Scott.
Oh, yeah.
Scott is not here. Okay, just wanted to clarify.
I also would like to say out loud that probably, I think everyone on the commission was on most of those emails, but I received
Yeah.
5 emails from the public, which were
Yeah.
in support of these bike lanes over the since our previous meeting and this meeting. So I just wanted to say that out loud.
Great, thank you. That's important. Does anyone else have any feedback on this? Any commissioners? Commissioner Seabrand.
I thought it was great. I liked I think bike lanes on El Camino are a great idea, especially as I can see the network sort of building. So I appreciate that you kind of brought in the history of how it's been brought to us before and laid out how we could do it. I'm certainly interested in pursuing it further.
Commissioner Bergen-Bailey.
I was wondering if our ad hoc subcommittee knows why was parking removed northbound, and do you know when it was removed?
Probably for the construction of Middle Plaza.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Okay. It was not that long ago that it was removed.
Yeah. Interesting. And then as I'm looking at the slides again, northbound is just sitting there wide open. Southbound is certainly a little bit more difficult. I was thinking, I think this might have been Atherton coming to speak to us several months ago with their portion of El Camino, talking about making multi-use sidewalks that were both accommodating to cyclists and to pedestrians. And I'm sure that the cost is a little bit different to do something like that. So I guess just commenting that perhaps that might be an option, because it is really hard to have it and then suddenly, merge with the class 3 bike lane is a Sharrow. Just sorry for anybody who might not know, and I think we all know, but for anyone who doesn't, a class 3 bike lane is really a car lane that has a Sharrow in it, and a Sharrow is the picture of a bike with arrows on top of it indicating that the bike and the car share the same space. Anyway, I was just thinking perhaps that might be an option. Northbound just seems like it's open and just waiting to be handed to us. As far as the spaces there, if we do quick build, it doesn't seem like it would be a large time nor cost. And I, with Commissioner Seabrand, would certainly be interested in exploring it further.
Sorry, Commissioner Raska.
I'm hugely supportive of this plan. I did have one question about the northbound side of it. Was there consideration for potentially moving the bike traffic behind Middle Plaza and using the land that's been acquired from Stanford in anticipation of the El Camino, of the rail underpass, to create a continuous lane behind Middle Plaza, Staples, Bevmo, those centers, and then going right up to Ravenswood? Like, would that be something worth considering? And then you could create a class 4 lane with an easement, for very underutilized parking lots behind Middle Plaza.
Yeah, so we didn't explore that option at all. That's not to say that it is mutually exclusive with the quick build. We were really focused on getting on the quick build for this segment of El Camino. But I mean, that's a good idea. But
Commissioner Raskoff, if I'm understanding your suggestion, it sounds like a really great option for kids going to school.
Very much
Right.
so, and accessing Burgess, the library.
Yeah, it would
right
go right
here,
there,
but,
yeah. No, it's great.
Because it allows you to basically avoid
Yeah,
the Ravenswood
and-
and El Camino. And you can cross, there's a new crossing at Cambridge and at Middle, both of which are greatly improved, partially thanks to the efforts of this commission. So you can use those and then kind of cut behind, and people are improvising this already, but there's a missing piece in the section that's actually been recently re-fenced off, that's been acquired by the city from Stanford, for that underpass, which may or may not happen. But in the meanwhile, it could help provide this kind of quick build connector. The other question I had was, I think, probably more for staff. It's whether the the SMCTA mini grant program that we talked about last time could potentially fund some of this design work. I realize this is further away from 101 than they may have in mind, but just because of the continuous nature of this project with, Redwood City and Atherton, both of which have said they want to build this, my recollection was that you get extra points for collaborations with other San Mateo County jurisdictions. So has that been broached with TA, and do you think there's a potential for funding it, maybe some of these design?
I think they specified, I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure they specified they didn't want anything that was Caltrans right away.
Okay.
Oh, they
Okay.
did?
Yeah.
Because I was just, the minute he said that, I had this weird flashback to one time when we were talking about some 101 corridor work, and I noticed there were projects, I thought they were kind of close to El Camino, and I think the presenter said something like, El Camino and 101 do kind of work together,
Right.
corridors. But I think it's a great suggestion if we want to at least ask.
Yeah, I think they were not having Caltrans right away because of how long it would take to get the encroachment permit. And then I think they have a timeline for their, what is it? The grant is the same one the safe route, the grant that they have has a timeline, and therefore they can't work on projects that would take longer than a certain time. So I think they just called out Caltrans as it's not in their right of way. Project's not in their right of way.
Understood. Would the Grand Boulevard Initiative funding potentially be a source? I think that's what Redwood City is using for its section.
Grand Boulevard Initiative would take, yes, that would in the phases of further design and then implementation. Grand Boulevard Initiative has not fully communicated how the funding would work. They've talked about how expensive it would be when it got built out, and that's something that needs to be explored.
Yeah.
But yes, that would be a venue where this would continue. This work could continue.
I mean, given, I think, a very strong case that the subcommittee made and the potential funding sources, I would support a motion for moving to the quick build or design, and approaching Caltrans about the encroachment on whatever timeline it takes with them to put that in motion.
Commissioner Raskoff, I appreciate your thinking around funding because obviously, as mentioned, as Katrine mentioned, the city council meeting last night, a major aspect of it was to focus on the general fund budget deficit. So to the extent to which, we continue to suggest maybe funding sources or at least, that I think that's in the right vein. Okay, Kevin, did you have anything? Okay, I had some thoughts that I wanted to share. I drove the route and I also thought a bit about some of the things that the public commenters noted. So I wanted to share that to show that I have some similar observations. So first of all, I drove it. I'm definitely supportive of doing this bike lane pilot. One of the things I remembered from one time biking in Golden Creeky Bike to Palo Alto was that sidewalk on the north side has trees. That makes it really hard to bike on the sidewalk there. For pedestrians as well, I'm sure. So there are many reasons why it would be much safer with the bike lanes, and that's one of them. I think there are a lot of advantages that some folks pointed out. I do think this encourages people to go downtown, even if it stops at Middle. Middle is a safe bike lane street now, and it would be pretty easy to go up Middle, down University, and boom, you're downtown. And I think that's really important. I think as we have been talking about downtown vibrancy, and also the city council has been, as commissioners on the Complete Streets Commission, we have to kind of have a lens of how do we support the downtown vibrancy efforts by getting more people there. And I think this accomplishes that as well. Let me see what else I had here. Oh, and I also remembered, by the way, when the Atherton folks presented to us about their plans for bike lanes, they had done a lot of public outreach already. And one of the things that they got a lot of feedback on, which someone mentioned, was workers who ride bikes. I think that was Ken Kirshner, but that biking down El Camino, they're already doing it, and it's an incredibly important way for them to get to their jobs, and they go across different towns, obviously. So I think that supports this as well. In terms of, the reason I asked the question to Justine was that I was wondering a little bit about, I know we've had some issues in Menlo Park with figuring out how to do street cleaning around bollards and things like that, but I'm curious about other forms perhaps of, protection between the bikers and the cars in El Camino, because obviously El Camino is a major road. If we end up applying for a grant, I don't think it hurts to add something in like that as a design element. If we don't get it, okay. But I think we need to aspire to other solutions aside from bollards to protect bikers, and maybe this pilot is an opportunity to do that. Okay, that being said, I think that the issues, if I had to guess that, city council or staff or, might bring up is sources of funding. Obviously this is not in the TMP, so where does the funding come from? Obviously all input is welcome. But also if we use a grant on this, is it competing with other projects? Is it additive? We get a grant for this project, or does something else go away? Obviously, we'd want to know from staff if that were the case, because that would be, I could see in this environment that maybe there's some trade-offs or choices we have to make. But I do really support this, and I think it's a good idea to get started. I think the case has been made very nicely about the benefits of it, and the adjustments that need to be made don't seem burdensome to me. That's where I come out on all of this. So in terms of the next steps, on the script here, it says that our job now is we're not making a motion to council as much as we are achieving consensus on a set of feedback around this that the subcommittee will then bring to City Council Member Cecilia Taylor, who's our liaison. That seems to be the next step in this process. And given that, let's do a really good job, I guess it's on me, to emphatically state, it seems like we really have strong consensus here, the feedback that we have around this pilot. So I don't know if the subcommittee members want to take a stab at summarizing the feedback. I'm happy to help with that as well. We can all do it together. But it's not going to be official motion as much as stating in the staff report or in the notes. And if that's helpful, Katrine, because we'll pass, we'll use that when we go to the city council liaison. But exactly how, supportive that unanimous support. And if you guys want to take it from there, or if you want me to. Do you want to try it, Tina?
Yeah, just give me
sure
1 minute.
Pause.
Write down all the things that I took notes on.
Okay, let's do that.
And we can.
And while we give Athena a minute, can I clarify? We would take it to Councilmember Taylor with the hope that she would then take it to the full city council, who would then ask city staff to act. Do I have that chain of events correctly?
She would have to get it agendized? Is that what she would be doing?
Yes. So yesterday there were a few public comments that was already made about the El Camino bike lane. So council is aware. So if Council Member Taylor were to bring it up, it will be on the June 23rd budget adoption, because this will require council action to allocate resources.
So a quick question, clarification of this process. One is, when we have a subcommittee report out to our commission, does that never result in a motion because it's an agenda item, or does it always result in our going to the city council liaison? Is there some policy that I'm unaware of?
It results in going to the liaison. That the commission can't take action on something that the council isn't part of our budget, isn't part of our work, the staff, not the work plan, but the staff budget. We have line items within on projects that we work on. So if you go back to our roles and responsibilities document, where it says that the commission can create 1 hour of work per month or something for the liaison, that's kind of that. So a project would go beyond an hour of work. And so therefore it would need to come from the city council. And the best way the city council does that is add it to a budget as a project.
Okay. Okay. And all right. So, okay. So the answer to the question posed by Commissioner Bergen Bailey is that the subcommittee will provide the recommendation to Cecilia Taylor, and she would have to get it listed as a project in the budget before the June 23rd meeting, or before the Thursday before the June 23rd meeting and the agenda gets posted. Is that the
And
Wednesday?
then if that isn't reasonable, then there is.
Reasonable. I'm just trying to.
Then there's also mid-year. There's other opportunities for adjustments and refinements.
But no, the timing is good. I'm just trying to understand whether that's the direction we want to share with her.
Like the ask of Councilwoman Taylor.
Is that please ask the city staff to list this as a project in the budget for discussion in the June 23rd city council meeting. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
In the
yes.
meantime, if we wanted to discuss, or if someone, the subcommittee, whoever, wanted to make other city council members aware that, the commission supports this and it'll be on the agenda, et cetera, they're free to do that as members of the public, right? I mean, not as in a formal way. Like, they're not going to another, city council member and saying, please put this, they're not making the same request, but making them aware that this is important to us.
To clarify, you're asking if the commissioner as residents can inform council or?
Yeah, I mean, send an email
Yes.
to the city
Yes,
council
of
members.
course.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, I would just like to summarize the feedback that I heard. First of all, the pros, that consensus in the room, the pros are that this supports downtown vibrancy by allowing people to access downtown by means other than car. It could support workers who might need to be traveling into Menlo Park from other places, from other cities nearby, and building out that network and continuity with our neighboring cities. I heard that demand exists. We just need to make that safe, and that the small number of parking spaces which would need to be removed most likely could be absorbed by neighboring streets. And the one major consideration that I heard was the funding sources issue. And we would like to continue exploring funding options for this insensitivity to the general fund budget deficit. Was there anything that I was missing?
I think because El Camino is a high crash corridor and the council passed Vision Zero strategy, I might say add just a bullet point saying improve safety of our largest or most trafficked high crash corridor on Menlo Park. Okay, so do we have consensus on the commission that as Athena just articulated, we are going to, I would like to add some language like express our emphatic unanimous support of, et cetera, et cetera. That we are going to empower the subcommittee to proceed with sharing this feedback to City Council Liaison Cecilia Taylor, with the goal of having her direct the staff to list it as a project for the June 23rd City Council meeting. Let's just take a quick vote on that. Does everyone agree to the language in the course of action?
Okay,
Say it.
just one friendly amendment. I just found the CFP was published for the mini grant program. And I was just following up, Katrina, on our exchange. It does not exclude Caltrans right of way. So that it might just be worth considering. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I think we had a list of priority projects that could be included in the mini grants. And I would support moving this up, above the Marsh Road projects that some of the other ones that were listed, just given the amount of community support and the contiguity with the other municipalities. I haven't heard anything close to that level of support for the other projects that were listed as priorities for that. So I would maybe just ask staff to look, the CFP was published on June 3rd. I just found it. And it looks like the Caltrans, you can do design on Caltrans even without having encroachment. permits from them.
May I understand, did you say CMP?
CFP, the call for proposals for the
Call
mini
for
grant
proposals.
program came out on June 3rd, and it looks like this project could be
Okay.
eligible for it.
Great. And this is the MC.
Exactly, the one that
MCPA
was,
101
they
corridor.
came to
Okay.
us, I think,
Yes.
2 meetings ago or
Yeah,
the last.
I should make
meeting.
sure I was
Yeah.
tracking. And,
And it's up to 750K, which I think
okay.
could really help with this design.
And you, sorry to interrupt, I just want to make sure I understand. And
I'm
when is it
saying we
due?
should make this the highest priority
Yeah.
proposal that we put in front of that mini grant program relative to the other ones that were
That we're talking
considered.
about.
Yeah.
Okay, so because maybe not everyone remembers as clearly as you do, you have a great memory, Commissioner Raskoff. What were the other projects that were discussed? Because I think if we want to have consensus here, we want everyone to say, yes, we agree. Part
Yeah.
of our statement to Cecilia Taylor would be, we know this project appears to qualify for a grant that's just opened on June 3rd, and this commission agrees that this project should be prioritized over other projects.
Yeah, my recollection, I think it's in the minutes for the meeting. My recollection is it was Marsh Road interchange and overcrossing. Yeah, it's on slide 19 in the minutes.
Okay.
Willow Road, Chilco Street, and Newbridge Street. So that's the multimodal and the active 101.
I do.
projects.
Okay. This is when the gentleman was here, like. 'cause-
Exactly.
because we've heard about this 101 corridor for quite several times, so I wasn't
Yeah.
sure exactly what you meant.
I mean, yeah.
Well, why don't we just say prioritize this project
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for that grant application,
Mhm.
that grant, whatever? Because I think,
As long as it's consistent with the rules, I just skimmed.
yes,
them.
yes. I think all I'm saying is that I don't think I know enough about what the Chilco project really was about to say, like, I like one more than the other, but I think saying prioritize
Mhm.
and given the public support, I think those are two
Yeah.
really important points to
Yeah.
make. Okay, so everyone agrees with adding in what Commissioner Raskoff just said. We have a good sense of what you guys will bring forward to Councilmember Taylor. Okay, so and does everyone agree that that's the course of action? Just want to say aye or something.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yep.
Procedural question right now. Does this disband the subcommittee or?
So when we created the subcommittee, it was for the purpose of creating the report out, so to speak. So now that you've achieved the goal, the subcommittee disbands. We would, if you wanted to do more, we could agendize the creation of a subcommittee at a future meeting, and you would need a new mission.
Well, can it
But
just at least
to-
extend?
For reaching out to Cecilia
Oh,
Taylor.
yeah, I don't think that's.
That's
Okay,
part
okay,
of-
yeah.
okay.
That's what I thought you were saying. Okay, great. So the subcommittee will extend beyond its conversation with Cecilia Taylor. Thank you. All right. We are now going to move on to the item about the work plan, which was E2, now it's E3. Thank you. All right, so we're going to discuss the adoption of the Complete Streets Commission 2026 to 2027 work plan. Katrine Maki, our Senior Transportation Planner, will introduce this item.
Yes, I do not have a presentation, but I can pull up the work plan. But I think I'm more ready for edits and to hear the comments and discussion.
Okay. I have, can I start? Is that okay?
Mhm.
Yeah, everyone? Okay.
Or do we need to call for public comment first?
Oh, I don't have that. I'm sorry, clarifying questions. Does anyone have any clarifying questions about the draft work plan? Not feedback, clarifying questions, before we take public comment?
I do.
Yes, please go ahead.
Does the draft work plan that we have right now, is it affected by the reduction of the Safe Routes program? And would we need to make, it may not be a clarifying question, but it feels like one. So I know that there was a thing in there. I don't have it in front of me now.
I can share
There. About safe routes for school. Right. The implementation of safe routes school strategy and advocate for community engagement, program continuity and engineering. I guess there's nothing about, okay, that's it. I guess I could have just read it in there.
I guess when we do edits, we can take into account the comments from council. So, okay, well, I just wanted to provide some thoughts before we begin, because in the staff report, both Joanna and Katrine touched on, kind of summarized, I'm sorry, the staff report in the minutes, kind of what we talked about in our last meeting about how we wanted to approach drafting and finalizing our work plan for this coming year. And I think we all agreed. I mean, I brought up, in other commissions, they say things about how they're going to run the meetings and being inclusive, and people thought that was good to bring in. And then we talked about, the fact that the previous work plan is very long and quite detailed, and other commissions had made it a bit more general and a bit easier to read, honestly. When I was reading the staff report, and when I was reading the list of projects that was attached to it for the coming year, I have to say I kind of backpedaled a little. I thought to myself, well, I really appreciate all the work staff did putting together, like following that direction we gave them and putting together a more general work plan. But I felt that completely leaving out the mention of the projects that will be the focus of the year made it feel sort of too general. And I completely understand if part of that motivation or thought was, well, we don't know exactly how much we'll get to accomplish on all these projects or how much we'll touch here. And if we put them in the work plan and then we don't do them, that is a difficult result. But I think we can solve that with the way we position mention of some of these anticipated fiscal year transportation projects. What I'm talking about is this list that was in the staff report. Okay, so my recommendation, or not recommendation, but my predilection here would be to include more language in this work plan about the projects. I have a thought about how we can do that and what we can say, and make it just a bit less general, because right now it does sound like we always do these things, but it's not as specific to the year ahead as I think the council might expect it to be, or that I would expect it to be, since it's a work plan for the year. So those are my thoughts. I also, other thing I just want to say is that if you scroll up to the top of this, the direction we gave the staff, which they followed, thank you, staff, was that we import the language from that city council document into this intro, right? About what we're charged to do and et cetera, et cetera. Interestingly enough, when I looked back at the work plans of other commissions, those goals are in their list. Like, they don't start with an intro. They just say, like, 1, right? Advise the city council on realizing which actually is like our primary goal. So I think that it might be, and I also felt, that a few of these first responsibilities listed were somewhat duplicative with these 2 paragraphs above it. So I took a stab at kind of condensing that and incorporating what's said in those paragraphs at the actual list of responsibilities, rather than having this intro and having it be repetitive. So I'm happy to pass out, if anyone wants to look at the way I approached it, the way I think would make most sense, because I want everyone to feel like the work the staff did is basically represented in what I did. I just might have repositioned it a little bit. So I'm hoping that we can leave up their work plan. Thank you very much, Katrine, on the screen. And then maybe we can look back and forth and see if what I did makes it clearer or whatever. I hope that's okay. Hopefully this will make things go smoothly. We'll see what happens. Here we go. You have an extra? All right, let's see if this works.
I'm going to try to play with the width so I can get you a better view, but it's like all or nothing.
Yeah. Thank you for being. All right, so let me pop back up to my phone. Okay, so let's try and walk it through. Maybe I'll try and steer. That's helpful. Okay, so the first thing, I did notice, sorry, that another commission had provide feedback to staff and advise city council, and I liked that that was included in there because that is the way we operate. So for ongoing work, I started off with what I think is a combination of the intro and some other points made below. So provide feedback to staff and advise city council on the implementation of the city's adopted transportation and climate goals as contained in the Transportation Master Plan, Vision Zero Action Plan, and Climate Action Plan. Now, does anyone think that sounds like a pretty comprehensive statement? Is there anything left out? Is there any language that bothers anyone there? Yes.
The only thing, I guess it's
Yeah.
in part 2. It's only that how it's the part about complete streets, but I guess you put it in line 2, in part 2. It was only because.
I'm realizing adopted goals for complete streets.
What?
Okay, that's good. I see what you're
I mean,
saying.
partly only because it's the complete street, that's that feels like the first thing we do.
Okay. So provide feedback to staff, that's a good point, and city council on the implementation of the city's adopted goals for, complete streets. I could say, just leave out as contained in, it could just say, like it does up there, adopted goals for complete streets, comma, Vision Zero, Climate Action Plan, and the Transportation Master Plan. Staff, I'm curious if you have any issue with putting the Transportation Master Plan up in that first item, because Transportation Master Plan was somehow separated from that paragraph and then stuck down in 2, and I didn't really know why that was.
I don't think there's any problem with it.
Okay, so now this would read, provide feedback to staff and advise city council on the implementation of the city's adopted goals for complete streets, comma, Transportation Master Plan, comma, Vision Zero Action Plan, and Climate Action Plan. Okay, all righty. So then I added something that we didn't have before, but it seemed like this is a core piece of what we do. So I wrote, provide the resident perspective to the development and implementation of complete streets projects and initiatives. Yes.
Are we the residents or through us, public comment?
It could be both. It could be both. But honestly, the reason I said that is because when I was thinking of applying to complete streets, and I spoke with a couple of city council members at the time, they all said, like, we expect you to bring the resident perspective. Like, you're out there, this is an interest of yours, this is a passion of yours, you bike a lot, whatever. You know, we expect you to be the eyes and ears. So I did think about that. It's a great question, because I thought, you know, is it only our perspective? That's not really what I also meant to bring our perspective as residents and the resident perspective. Down at the bottom, I did add this other piece. Hold on 1 second, which number is it? Here, so for 5 on the ongoing work, encourage and facilitate robust and inclusive public participation and community engagement in our meetings, and in the city's transportation policies and programs, invite public input. So the reason I put it, I sort of combined something that we had talked about last time and put it in like that because I thought it was important and I thought it was ongoing. If you want to say, if you want to change the language and provide resident perspective, I'm fine with that. It could be provide residents perspective or our perspective as residents and other residents or something, the professors or whatever. Any thoughts around changing that number 2? Do people think it's important to say that we do this? Yeah.
I mean, partly, I'll say first, I'm comfortable with the way it is. And part of it is because you can't get here if you're not a resident. So like all of us are residents, and we pretty clearly represent our perspectives often and obviously up here. So I think like if it meant to just provide, like if we were meant to only provide like the perspective of the residents we talk to, then it would say it, I feel like it would say it differently. But the resident perspective means you and the people that you talk
so.
to.
That's how- yeah.
And just to, because early in my tenure on the Complete Streets Commission, I remember sort of feeling like the other 8 people up here knew so much more about streets. And every time we were here, I was like, well, this is how this bike lane feels when you ride in it.
Mhm.
And at the time, it was Kevin Chen, and he was like, no, that's actually what we want to hear.
Mhm.
And so in the end, it's users. So
Mhm.
yes,
Mhm.
it's resident perspective because we do care about the
Yeah.
people who live here, but it's getting user perspectives.
Yeah.
And so however we accomplish that in our outreach, and I mean, if I were going to change anything, I'd change it to say user
That's a good
perspective.
idea.
But we also like very specifically want this to be about residents being heard. And so I would assume
Okay.
that
Okay.
because sometimes we also take feedback from people who don't use those things, but
Mhm.
still have opinions about them. So
Mm,
we take opinions from residents
Okay.
about stuff related to all these things. So that's my really long answer about why I feel like it's okay.
I like the change to user, I think is interesting.
What do
and
you all
compelling.
think?
I worry about using like what Commissioner Seabreen said, the kind of it's important to get feedback for people who are using the street next to the bike lane in addition to the people who are using the bike lane. So I feel like user implicitly in some ways kind of puts some users above other users in some sense. So I would leave it as residents, though of course our streets are used by non-residents, many, like a lot. So I don't know how to reconcile those. I wonder if we can combine 2 and 5 though.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Okay, so maybe we just move 2 down to 5.
If we include 2 and
combine
5, we can just invite public input and provide resident perspective. That kind of, I feel like would encompass both aspects
Okay.
of
And maybe we
user
stick-
and non-user, city resident and non-city resident.
Yeah, I like that. And then let's just move it down to 5 and rather, because it's feeling too high in the order of things. Okay, so we'll move that down to 5 and we'll say invite public input and if that's okay with everyone else. Okay, so back to ongoing work. Are we making, clear statements about the general ongoing work? Number 3 says advance the goals of the city's climate action plan by making alternatives to driving safer and more attractive, including the installation of pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure. This was a combination of existing number 1 and 3. It's pretty much combined to advance the goals of climate action plan by making alternatives safer, and then advocate for and advise the council on infrastructure. I wasn't sure if it was important to mention rail crossing specifically, but we can put that in if you want to. I just thought that was implied and
I didn't really understand the specific rail crossing reference.
Yeah.
So I'm
I was
okay
trying to
with that.
simplify. All right, so now if you look at the first 3, we've kind of kicked them all off. We've dealt with 1 and 3 and then advising on the transportation plan.
I was just gonna say on the,
Yeah.
instead of pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, should we say multimodal? Because it's like scooters and e-conveyances and stuff like that. That seems to be the trendy thing. Very trendy, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, so then number 4, I just had advise city council on regional transportation related programs and projects. So this was down lower. Oh, here it is, number 6. It was a little more complicated. It said like support city council and their role as a stakeholder. And then it was I just made it shorter. But I think that's captured that. Okay. And then the one we just discussed. Yep.
Where are we? What was number 4 is doing
Number 5 is doing number 6's work.
So she's short.
okay. Right. I don't No, I don't know if I feel like that says the same thing.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
Because one feels like it wants, you're supporting their role as a stakeholder. So in that sense, like they're coming to have a meeting with a stakeholder and we're standing in for city council sometimes. Right?
Okay.
We're certainly taking feedback and then staff takes our feedback and sends it on to city council. So
Okay.
it does have, I mean, I suppose it has the net effect of advising. It was just in the first wording, it's clear that we're sort of representing council in this way, unless I'm overthinking.
No,
it.
no, no, let's do that. I think
Um,
that's great. Let's put that back in.
Okay.
I'm taking
But
that-
otherwise, I want to say, I do like the,
Okay, support
format.
city council's role as a stakeholder. And we can continue to say with regard to regional, because it does say multimodal and transportation demand management, that it might. Well, maybe not. I mean, is it important to say that this is specifically in regard to regional, multimodal and transportation? I thought that was too specific because I think it's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay, fine. So we'll add that piece in the beginning. I actually, number 5, which was safe routes, I actually put down in our focus area because it seemed like obviously it's an ongoing thing for us, but it seemed like if it was pivoting to maybe a sort of a different kind of purpose, that was very relevant to the year. But now that I'm looking at this, we can put it up. So if you look at where I put focus as number 2, I actually combined Coleman and safe routes to just put it under the umbrella of support the city's efforts to enhance the safety of school zones and routes, including. And then I did mention the Coleman pilot because I'm certain that that will happen this year because when the pilot's over, the opportunity to, make final recommendations or to look over the feedback and stuff will surface. So that seems like that's going to happen in this fiscal year. And then I just wrote, I was trying to think of what to say about safe routes, but it seems like what we would be focusing on this year for safe routes is to pivot the program to support the implementation of these projects.
Sorry, Chair Cole, are you saying that you would put safe routes back up?
Well, yeah, I
ongoing?
could see putting both, I could see that putting that back up. If whatever people think is best. I'm trying to create 2 categories. So if I were a member of the council, I'd be like, okay, this is their ongoing stuff, but here's really what they're wanting to.
I like the idea of safe routes being under ongoing work.
Okay.
Just especially with the talks last night about budget cut, I think it's nice to have someone,
Okay.
a group to really focus and keep an eye on that.
All right, so I'll move safe routes up. And then under this number 2 down here, let's see, pivoting safe routes program and expenditures to support implementation. Maybe that's too, do you think we should put that in there or do you think we should? Or supporting the safe routes program?
I feel like we've attached it to something else, which might then make it too long, but it does seem like it might sort of fit at the tail end of provide the resident perspective to the development and implementation of complete streets, projects, and initiatives, including safe routes to schools. Or is that not a specific enough sort of call out?
Well, I think-
Which I totally understand.
Yeah.
But I think we attached it to the end of number 5, invite public input. And so that makes it sort of more about the public input and the
Yeah,
resident
yeah, I think it does.
perspective and less
Yeah, I
about
think it does.
like advocating for a program. So maybe just ignore me.
Well, let's assume that we're going to put something about safe routes under ongoing work. Do people like the number 5 bullet that's in the work plan now on the screen? Yes. Okay, so let's just restore the bullet 5 up here under ongoing work. And then for focus, again, I felt, and folks do not have to agree with me, but I felt under focus, just even mentioning the different sorts of projects that we will expect to have, come to our attention this year was a good idea. So maybe we just say support the city's efforts to enhance the safety of school zones and routes, including, and we just put in reviewing community feedback over the Coleman Avenue project or something. Maybe we just cross out that thing about pivoting to, because that's not really our work. I guess that's more the staff's. So let's just say for one of our focus areas is supporting city's efforts to enhance the safety of school zones and routes. And this is more about physical infrastructure reviewing community feedback of the Coleman Avenue pilot. Like, I think I would put that in there. Okay, so we've added to the ongoing work, we've combined 2 and 5, we've added safe routes to school. So underneath our focus areas, this is where the, I looked at the list of anticipated fiscal year transportation projects. And I basically just said, consistent with this, we would prioritize the progress and implementation of safety improvements on these on high crash corridors. The reason I put it that way is that I think, Vision Zero was the last big transportation strategy that the city council passed. It, without doubt, its emphasis was on high crash corridors as a big priority. So I think it's fair to say that this year, when you look at the list of roads that the staff is focused on, there are high crash corridors, appropriately, right? So I think that's consistent with city council priorities and staff's priorities to put that in there. I know there's maybe a hesitation to mention specific locations or projects for the year, but I try to phrase it like, we'll prioritize this, not we will do these things. We'll prioritize progress implementation, not necessarily saying, consistent with Vision Zero, we will, implement on these high crash corridors. I'm sorry, I'm realizing I mentioned El Camino, and that's not on the list that staff provided of potential projects, anticipated projects and programs. So we can take that out. But do people feel generally positive, or that it is a positive to include the names of some of the projects in the focus area of the work plan?
For my own clarification, so ongoing work would be more or less permanent, like year over year, that would stay the same.
Yeah.
So it would just be the focus that year over year we're deleting and re-put or of course carrying over any bullet points that still need to be carried over. But this would be the specifics of the year versus the ongoing work. I think I'm saying the obvious out loud, but just confirming that that's the vision here.
That's how I intended it, because I thought that it would be useful to us and to the city council to sort of define, what the focus was a little more tightly.
I agree that it's useful to have, I don't necessarily have a strong opinion if it's in the work plan or as an addendum to the work plan, I guess. But I think support for improving access downtown and supporting downtown businesses should go in ongoing work.
Oh, okay. So let's take number 4, downtown, and move it up.
That's something that we
Good for you.
try to
That's a great change.
think a lens through.
Well, then I
think
guess
as a
we
lens.
could also do 5. Well, yes, you're right. Okay, so 5, which was the Slow Streets program, I put that in focus because the Slow Streets program was just passed. So it seemed like this is definitely something we're going to be doing this year, but we can also move.
I think, I don't know, I'm okay with 5 where it is. I guess my comment on listing out all the projects that we would like to focus on this year would be that it's fairly comprehensive list, right? So I don't want to be listing here only like the top 3 in some sense. Like we have all of these here, which are, I guess the downtown access one we've just moved up, but the 4 bullet points here, I would like to maintain all of those.
So are you saying in here?
If we're moving the addendum back into the actual focus plan, like just keep it, most of it.
It feels to me like we're just recreating the old work plan, but with new goals. Because if we take only some of these things, like I like this idea of the ongoing work, but it turns out that we keep like each of these things. Oh, well, that's important. We should have that in ongoing work. And, like
that's
pretty soon.
ongoing. It's not
Right,
that-
right. but we're moving, like, now we're moving another thing into ongoing, and then we're moving another, because they're all ongoing. And then the question is, if you're going to list some of them specifically, do the Woodland intersection people have concerns because we didn't specifically list out that one? So if we're going to list out some of them, you kind of have to list out all of them, which is why we have the work plan we do.
Well, maybe this is a good point to direct to staff, because, okay, do the commission members generally feel that this work plan is more like sort of meaningful, I think is what I thought, and more informative if there's some mention of some of the projects we hope to be working on this year? Like, that's just a general question. But do people think, yes, that was a good idea to start putting some of that into here rather than as an addendum?
I initially, yes, I did, until
Okay.
we started workshopping it, and then
Right.
it's starting to feel
Right.
just like the old one.
So I agree with you, because I don't want to get too specific. I think I'm trying to find that middle ground between, the staff in the last discussion, presenting a draft where we're not mentioning them all, it's in the addendum, right? Or if we put too much information in, like, oh, it's about that intersection, then it's like, oh, why isn't my intersection on that list? It gives them sort of no wiggle room. If the priority is Middlefield, but they decide to do the Santa Monica intersection and not the Woodland intersection. You know what I mean? It sort of maybe gives too much visibility before they've made those decisions, or.
Can I ask the
So I was trying to
second?
keep it a bit more general. Does that make sense to staff? Like, what does staff think about the difference between listing it, including the addendum in the goals, or including it more generally by saying, we are going to prioritize prioritization, implementation, just mentioning the streets, the projects, the street project?
I think it's very much your choice. I think logistically, we had talked last time about the addendum not being attached to the goals
Right.
because they would change. And so I think if you want them included, it's better to just include them rather than require the addendum, because I'm not sure if there's going to be pushback from the city clerk's office just in terms of filing and how the file is stored. And, having it in one document, I think, is easier than having an addendum. Since it would be, if you wanted to officially signed off on by council, then it might as well just be in the work plan. So I think it's either it's in or it's out.
Okay, I thought I thought I was maybe helping you guys leave more wiggle room about what you choose to get done within the year by mentioning them in project names. But if you are comfortable just including the agenda, we can do that. I mean, including the addendum.
Well, the other question I have is, like, part of all the other commissions are just turning in this thing, like these work plans that seem to just look the same year over year. And so I guess my question is, if every other commission is doing it that way, and our goal is to sort of align with how others are doing it, we're still not doing it that way.
I would not describe every commission
Okay.
as doing an ongoing general thing. They do mention specific projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just, I was confused because some of it felt like it was very, like, these are the things we do all the time. And
Well,
then
but
that
then
way
you
it
have, like,
simplified the project.
If you read library, whatever, they usually mention like one or two very specific things, like, we're going to
Building a new
something
library
about
or
Haven
something.
Library or
Right.
something here. Yeah, no, it's pretty specific. I guess I'm still of the mind of not including. I personally think that including these bullet points under the TMP projects that get really specific, like it says Santa Cruz Sand Hill, for example, right? And I don't know if you mean the Santa Cruz Sand Hill intersection, but that's only one part of the Santa Cruz Avenue whole project. And I almost worry about including a component of it is almost like saying to council that that's what you're going to do. And I don't know if you've told council that yet. It just seems like there's more information here that's going to draw council's attention to, oh, what is this? What are you planning to do? Like, oh, you're going to do the bike lane project, but maybe not the crosswalks. I just thought that it was going to invite too much and give too much information. When what I think I was just trying to say is, okay, our focus this year is on these high crash corridors, X, Y, Z, whatever. That was what I thought was wise, but okay. So let's just quickly take a moment and say, would we prefer under, 2026, 2027 focus to just include in part these projects and programs where they're listed here? The only thing is that downtown access and regional transportation, we have bumped up to ongoing, which I think makes sense because we are going to be doing those on an ongoing basis, whereas the other things sound more like this year's work. Does anyone, hey, staff, do you have any thoughts about this? Joanna?
I think we would like to, so we do want to provide a version up so then we can all live edit so the commissioners can all read it. So wanted to make sure, would you like us to bring up, Sally, what you just provided and we can start editing and then the commission can take a look at the edits?
Yes. Do you want me to edit it in my doc? Like what?
Joanna just magically typed it up.
Okay.
She's got skills that I don't even know how she did it. So I can pull up.
Okay, let's do that.
Hold on. I'm a lot of screens open.
And I think one of the questions was adding the addendum versus like in the focus area. I'm wondering if based on the meeting today of adding El Camino to that would make sense. I know you said that you already had it here, but we didn't have it on the addendum, wherever that is now. So I don't know if that would be appropriate to add. But it does sound like in general, this group is enthused about it. So perhaps it would be.
Sure. So ongoing work, the only thing I think we didn't encapsulate in that is, but I want to make sure we're talking, if we go to the number 1 of ongoing work, I think that Commissioner Seabran's change was on the implementation of the city's adopted goals for complete streets.
Okay.
Right. So that was number 1 for ongoing work. And we don't have that other plan in front of us now, the one that was provided in the staff report, but that, okay, here we go. So number 2, we moved down to 5. Yeah, you got it. Invite public input and.
Yeah, I think it was just copying that entire sentence of 2 and putting it at the end of 5.
Mm-hmm. Provide, yep. And then just making that 5. Perfect, thank you. But I think the other old 5 goes away, right?
We're here, it's, I was hearing
Encourage
it
and
as,
facilitate, that goes away, right? Is that what you meant?
Oh, I meant just stick it on the end.
like,
Oh, okay. Got you.
Oh.
All right.
I think we're trying to.
So then encourage and facilitate goes after invite public input?
Oh, gosh.
And it's kind of part of the same idea.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
So encourage and facilitate sentence
Mm-hmm.
goes after invite public input and provide the resident perspective.
Oh, I thought it went the other
No,
way.
I think this
Invite
is
public
right.
input. See how it ends
Yeah,
with
I would-
invite public input?
Oh,
Just take that.
oh, I see. I'm saying provide and provide. Okay.
sentence for that.
Yeah, just like go to the 2 and delete.
I see. I
back
see what
to
you're
it.
saying. So invite public input jumps up to the back of the encourage facilitate sentence.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, what's already in 5.
So just, if you go to the invite public, no. Invite public input is going at the end of 5. Encourage and facilitate, it goes at the end. Yep. Mm-hmm. You just pull it up.
With.
No.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
I think my screen's frozen.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So that gets
I can, like,
deleted. That
still
number
see
2
this
that's
version
at the
of
bottom
it.
there gets deleted. Okay, number 2 that's sitting there, that, yep, you got it. Okay.
Yeah, I think my screen's frozen.
Okay.
But yes, we know this one's gone.
Okay. So then the second one, advance the goals of the city's climate action plan by making alternatives, that should be plural, to driving safer and more attractive, including the installation of multimodal infrastructure.
Okay, and that includes pedestrians, right?
Does everyone, like in the public, know what multimodal is? Maybe we should say, I don't know, in parentheses or something? Okay, whatever. Advance the goals of city, can we say city's climate action plan there? And then it's alternatives to driving? Okay. So are people happy with that sentence? Yes. Okay, so then we had talked about moving downtown up, so if we can move them.
Can I?
Yep.
I'm sorry. Or as I'm looking back at number 3, I'm just gonna ask this. Advance the goals of the city's climate action plan by making multimodal alternatives to driving safer and more attractive, including the installation of necessary infrastructure.
That's fine. Okay, if we're going to move downtown up, I'd probably put it over regional transportation. And so if you move the 4 downtown one up, I'd put it as number 3 above. If you
Number-
cut that from focus.
Yeah,
Where did you want number 4 to go up to?
Up to number 3, focus, under ongoing work, sorry, ongoing work, it should be number 3.
So before 3.
Okay, so that's 3, and then 4 is advise city council on regional transportation related projects. I think there's one thing we might be missing. There's one thing we're missing, sorry, I remember I missed one piece, I hadn't figured out where to put it yet, so let me bring this back. There's some language in this plan that says, promote a safe and accessible citywide multimodal transportation network for all users. Okay, that was in our draft plan that was in the staff report. And I wanted to bring that up with people because I do believe that one of our things that we gain a lot by pushing forward on would be to kind of map out like a network and make it clear that we're working to fill in gaps on the network. But I'm not sure if we're doing that or if people want to include that goal. So I'm going to repeat it again. It says promote a safe and accessible citywide multimodal transportation network for all users. And we can put that in there as ongoing work. Sure. Okay. So let's put that underneath. Yeah, but I think if we include that with safe routes, I think I could be wrong. And guys, by the way, this is in the work plan number. Hold on, where was this? Where did I find this? Here we go. Sorry. Promoting safe and accessible multimodal transportation network. Okay, I don't know where I got citywide. Sorry. So if you look back on the work plan goals, the second paragraph that ends with promoting safe and accessible multimodal transportation network. So maybe we just put that in. Can you scroll up to the ongoing work for a moment? Maybe we just put that phrase in. So advance the goals of the city. Here we go. Advance the goal of the city's climate action plan by making multimodal alternatives to driving safer and more attractive, including the installation of necessary infrastructure. It could be there. And promoting, one second, a safe and accessible multimodal transportation network. I mean, do you think that point should be made, that we're promoting a network?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the goal. Yeah.
Okay. I think it should say promoting a safe and safe and accessible, a safe, accessible, multimodal transportation network. Okay. Okay, fine. So going back now into focus. What do we think about number one? Consistent with the Vision Zero action plan, prioritize progress and implementation of safety improvements on the city's high crash corridors, including Willow, El Camino Real, Middlefield, and Santa Cruz Avenue. Do we feel like that sounds like a good focus area for the year? Or do we want to import the more specific addendum language? Can we get some thoughts? Because we do want, it's 8:16 and we said we wanted to move through this and this. I know it's hard to keep going, but you gotta, because we really do want to do this in one session.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that would be not doing this. Is that okay with you, Tina? Because I know you thought we should put that in there.
I mean, I'm okay, I guess, either way. I think there is benefit to including kind of a roadmap for everything, but I guess on the old plan anyway, we didn't list everything out. So these are the kind of major ones that we want to make sure that we discuss. That makes sense.
I guess I still want to know, Joanna, I'm sorry that I didn't give you like a digital copy of this that you would have to type it over. So my apologies. But I think because you were doing that, I just want to get your opinion on putting this as our number one under focus, because from a staff perspective, do you see a benefit in being a bit more specific than we were being and flagging to City Council that we're focusing on high crash corridors and here's a list of the ones we're focusing on? And do you see a further benefit by being more specific and including your bullet points that you had in the attachment, like Middlefield, Willow, and Woodland intersection improvements, Middlefield, Linfield, Santa Monica intersection improvements? Would you rather have it at that level of specificity in the work plan to council?
It is up to decommission, but I think one point of caution is that we will still need council's direction on El Camino Real as well as Willow Road. So putting it on the work plan may not, we don't know the direction from council currently. So there could be a chance that those projects may not come in front of the commission.
Okay, so is it better to say, is it more accurate to say consistent with Vision Zero, prioritize progress and implementation of safety improvements on the city's high crash corridors, and then say including Middlefield Road and Santa Cruz Avenue? Or do you want to say possibly including or potentially including?
Well, Willow Road, the Class 4 bike lane project is a project that we have. I don't know that one would need to get cut out, right?
It is a project, but the funding is currently in discussion.
Okay.
It will be an item going back to council.
Okay. So I guess I'm just curious what we,
I guess maybe one.
Possible projects include, what if it said high crash corridors period, possible projects include? Or pending, and do you want to say like something like that?
We would recommend a little bit of flexibility, just given we really do not know at currently today the outlook of Willow Road and El Camino Real.
Okay, so does the commission, given what Joanna said, want to not include the names of the roads?
I'm inclined to go that direction.
Okay.
Only because I feel like what we don't put there will make more noise than what we do put there.
Okay, so is everyone okay with that, taking it out? Okay, we're taking it out. And then, and I'm, again, totally seeking feedback. I'm assuming people are okay with it, but if you're liking this idea of putting a focus here, I do think that school zones and high crash corridors just come up a lot, right? And that was what Vision Zero kind of was hoping we would focus on in terms of safety. So, okay, so number 2, supporting the city's efforts to enhance the safety of school zones and routes. including, obviously, can we mention Coleman? Are we certain that Coleman will happen, the pilot will happen within the year?
Yes, Coleman will be returning to the commission.
Okay, so reviewing, okay, fine. And then let's say something different about, wait, we already moved Safe Routes up. Is Safe Routes moved up? Sorry. Can we go back up for a second? No, okay. So what we're going to do with Safe Routes, Joanna, or I'm sorry, I don't know who's doing the editing on the, but under ongoing work, we're going to add back from this number 5 from the draft work plan that you
Oh, yeah.
created for the
I got it.
staff report. It says, support the implementation of the Safe Routes to School strategy and advocate for community engagement program continuity.
Did you have a specific number we should put that at?
Oh, it should, let's put it as 3, or before or after downtown? Before? Before, 3. Thank you. Thank you there. Okay. Okay. So now we've got as our focus, supporting safe routes, including reviewing Coleman Avenue. We have focusing on high crash corridors. Okay. One of the things I put here, but I'm not sure it's specific enough. Number 3, I wrote this, do our part to help staff and council move the work forward to make Menlo Park streets safe and accessible for all users, incorporate the data-driven safety first approach, I think I should say approach, of the VSAP where possible to guide prioritization. Now, the reason I put this in here is that I do feel like it helps staff in the city if this commission is well-informed about the challenges that staff and city faces, right? And after last night's meeting, it's pretty clear that both the staff and the council face budget constraints this year. So this was more my sort of talking out loud to myself about like, what is kind of the mindset that we bring into our work this year that will be aligned with how staff and council need to approach their work this year. And to me, that's, help us move forward, but we can't do everything, right? So help us move forward, keep the wheels turning. Menlo Park streets are really safe. Are really important. And have that as our attitude. Like maybe we can't get everything, but we can get something. Let's go, And the reason I put this data-driven safety first, that should say approach there, safety first approach, is that, if we have to make trade-offs or choices around doing one project over another, maybe one way to look at it is like, well, what's the data showing here? Which one needs a safety fix more than maybe another project or something like that. And I think it's good for us to bring that mindset in if it's consistent with the way council and staff are thinking. And if staff doesn't think so, please push back. But I thought maybe this is just something we don't have to put in the work plan, but I personally, just for me, I felt like it was good as a reminder for all of us, But what do you
I
think?
kind of want to see, thank you, the ongoing work section, because part of me feels like the text of number 3 is sort of contained throughout all the ongoing work, kind of. I'm not sure what we're saying new other than the data-driven part of it. And so, I'm not disagreeing with the goal, but it does sort of it feels like the moving Menlo Park forward to make streets safe and accessible for all users is what all the ongoing work is. So, whether it's like a specific piece that's just about, the Vision Zero action plan, data-driven safety first approach, kind of like.
Oh, I see.
Right. If that is the honing,
I see.
make use of the, available data, safety, I don't know.
Okay, well, that's kind of interesting. If people felt more comfortable with this or they felt it made more sense, we could just remove the first sentence, do our part to help, assuming that we're doing that, right?
Right.
And then just, if people think that it's important to mention that we want to, there's consensus on the commission that we want to incorporate a data-driven approach, to guide prioritization, we can just leave that sentence in there and decide whether that goes in ongoing work or focus. But for me, it might be focus just because, I don't know, I defer to the group. But do people agree maybe take out the first sentence but keep the second one? Okay, so we're going to take out that first sentence. That's just me talking to myself. And incorporate the data-driven safety-first approach of the Vision Zero action plan where possible to guide prioritization.
Yeah, I think that's a.
Okay, and you want to leave that in focus?
Sure. If we love it, we can move it into ongoing work next year.
A pilot.
Yeah.
Okay, so then last thing we have under focus is review and provide feedback to staff and city council on the Associates Program annual report. That's being presented to city council as well, right? Yeah.
Right.
Is it okay is my wording okay there? Okay. And then 5, request the council extend okay, so this is important. So the reason I wanted to put this in as an action or not is that I know staff, right, has to go back to council at some point and say, do you want to extend? Do you remember, guys, in September of 2025 when you and I were here and the council voted to create these 2 pilot are reviewing 2 land use projects, and we already reviewed 1, but it ends right in September of this year. So somewhere in here it said that this is number 7.
I just copied and pasted over. So 4 is what Sally wrote and 5 is what was in our old work plan. So you can see them side by side.
Oh, thank you.
I can zoom in a little more if that helps.
I think it's a great. Oh, sorry, we're still reading. I like having it on there because it is a specific 26, 27 thing. Presumably, we're not going to next year still be asking them to please let us in the sandbox.
Yeah.
Right.
And to add to that, I actually kind of like the wordier version.
Okay.
Just because it's very specific.
Yeah. Okay. So is that, provide input and recommendations to the city. Fine, let's do that. Put it back in there. So I'm going through the work plan now that you guys have in the staff report, just to make sure we captured everything. And here's how I would summarize what we're looking at now, kind of in comparison with what you gave us. Obviously, we've broken up it into ongoing and projects, ongoing work and focus this year. And the other piece is we don't have this intro anymore about what we do. It's kind of encompassed within the goals. And we've called out that one of our areas of focus is high crash corridors specifically. And we've called out the Coleman Avenue pilot. Sorry, was I called out in here? Sorry, it was called out in here, sorry. So we've called out high crash corridors specifically. And we've added this thing about incorporating a data-driven approach where possible to guide prioritization. The only thing, can you scroll up so I can look at the top half for a sec, see if there's anything I want to say? I'm sorry, I'm just looking. And we've also put this language in about providing the resident perspective. Okay, fine. The one thing I did not incorporate, I apologize, I missed this, must have not been on my iPad, was the ninth one was support continuity and effective commission operations, including onboarding of new commissioners.
We want that in ongoing, right?
Yeah, that was part of this encouraging, facilitate, robust. Maybe we can make 6 shorter. One second, let me just read it real fast. Encourage, facilitate, robust.
I will say we don't have any new members this year.
That's true. Oh, yeah. So we don't have to do it. Don't put it on.
It's we can add it to next year's work plan.
Yay, it's off. Okay. So can we look through, I would love for everyone to just read this through once, because to me, I think, the one thing that did drop though, sorry, I was okay. Do you remember in the very top, if we go to the very, very, thank you, it used to, that number 1 had a it had an ending to the sentence which said, and providing input on major land use and development projects as it relates to transportation, right? Remember that was that thing that was in a city council document. So the reason I took it away is I was going to, let me see for a second, provide feedback. Yeah, provide, I mean, I guess we have to put that one back in. Sorry. I took it out because I was going to put it down in the focus area, but. All right, so it was a second sentence there, provide feedback to staff and advise city council implementation, No, I would probably make it a different sentence. Sorry, keep it in number 1, but I think we need to end it after plan and then just write and provide input. Yeah, provide input on major land use development projects as it relates to transportation.
Sorry, was that the one that
it was
sparked the controversy?
Yes.
Last year? And so then is that not incorporated in our pilot project?
Well, that's what I was going to do. I was going to take it out of there and stick it in the pilot project piece, but that's already so long now. Provide feedback. I mean, you
It's
could do
just
that.
because I worry that this is going to get
Okay, let's do that.
pushed
Yeah.
back again.
Yeah, let's do that. So sorry, that provide input on major land use, can you stick it in the beginning of?
Number 6 on the bottom.
It is there. It is there.
Yeah.
They incorporate it. Okay, yeah, so you can remove it. I'm sorry. You can remove it from the first bullet point of ongoing work. I apologize. If you can just remove that.
And then if they approve the pilot, we add it to our ongoing work.
Okay. So I think we've.
the goal, to move stuff ongoing.
Yeah. All right, so can everyone just maybe take one last read of this? Can we? Okay.
I don't know. Or I'll let you read it. I was going to say, how many years in a row has safe routes been a priority for the city? Is it 3?
Oh, more than that.
Okay. Maybe we should put that in here. I was trying to figure out the right spot to do that. Support, maybe focus. Number 2, support the city's ongoing priority for safe routes to enhance. You don't have to write anything just yet, but.
Oh, okay, guys. So maybe so you see an ongoing work, it's number 3. We just imported that. But maybe we, yeah, we could start that differently. We could start ongoing work with support the city's efforts to enhance the safety of school zones and routes, comma. And then it could say, something like including the Safe Routes to School program or something?
So I wanted it bigger than that. Not
what do you
like
wanna
the
do?
school, like the whole safe routes. I don't know if it could just be a focus, like in the focus section, number 2. Like it says, support the city's
Yep.
ongoing priority for safe routes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Let's do there. And its efforts to enhance the safety of school zones. Okay, that's good. I like that because then it includes zones and routes, which I do think are different things. Okay, and then.
Although we might need to get rid of 1 "and" in there. Reviewing community feedback, comma,
I think that's
results of.
sentence now.
Oh, okay.
Maybe period after routes and then say review community feedback
Oh, there you go.
from the Coleman Avenue, I guess results, excuse me. And make final recommendations. Yeah. That's great. Okay. Thank you. All righty, incorporate the. All right, so from the top, I'm just going to read it one last time. Provide feedback.
One last thing on number 2, safe routes, just and take off to the to school part.
Oh, okay.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Or on the.
On
yeah,
both of them?
yeah, the bottom focus, number 2. Yeah, 2 schools.
Should I do it for 3 and 2? Like,
I think there we do mean schools though down. You just want to do safe routes in both places, Kevin?
I was just looking at the focus number 2, but I'll leave
Okay.
that. discretion to you guys.
It makes sense to leave it in the focus area because that particular line item is very much about like, it's very school focused and school driven. It doesn't mean that only school kids are using it, but that is definitely, all the design features are pretty much around making small people safer. So in that sense, it makes, I understand why we would put schools there, but also if we're just going to be consistent, then.
So can staff speak to the actual priority? I think technically the priority is safe routes.
It is. I think maybe in ongoing work number 3, we could edit that to say safe routes. But that doesn't help Kevin's point about the city's ongoing priority. Well, we could change the city's ongoing priority to be under 3. Like,
Oh, okay. I
and
see.
delete strategy maybe?
Yep. Support them to city's ongoing priority. Okay, and then there could say support there could just say support the city's safe routes program. Yes, what we're saying, right? And its efforts to enhance the state. Yeah, that's fine. But that should say 2 schools. In my opinion, number 2 should. Like, I think that Commissioner Seaver.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think that the number 2 under ongoing work, I think we need a second sentence there. I think it should end after infrastructure and then just say promote a safe.
Although I didn't really like the
Oh, it's just me.
Okay.
Can I just make one observation that in our ongoing work number 2, we have multimodal as a dash and multimodal as a word.
Okay, I have a thought. I think that we could simplify number 6 under ongoing work. I think we should actually take out, just bear with me for a second, invite public input because I think invite public input is encompassed in the first sentence. And I think the second sentence should really focus on this resident perspective point. Because we're saying we should encourage public participation, which means invite public input. I think that's repetitive. Yeah. Okay, so let's just say provide the resident perspective to the development and implementation of season projects. Okay. But that shouldn't say CSC projects and initiatives because that implies they're the commission's initiatives. I think it was this. What did I have there? I think I said, wait. I think I just wrote complete streets projects and initiatives. Yeah, thanks. Okay, thanks. Okay, I'm just. Okay, I think the focus area is good. I still, what's that? Okay, for number 3, which says support the implementation, is it support the implementation or support the city's ongoing priority of safe routes? I think it's support the city's ongoing priority. And we can scrap the implementation of. Safe routes. Okay. Okay, is everyone pretty happy with where we are?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Back. So if there's no further commission discussion, can we just, is it voting by acclamation saying we're happy with where this is?
We should call for public comment.
Public comment now. Okay, thank you. All right, Katrine, can you please call for public comment on this draft work plan for Complete Streets Commission 2026, 2027?
For virtual attendees who wish to provide public comment, you may engage the raised hand feature, or if you're calling in from a landline or cell phone, press *9 to raise your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please fill out a speaker card from the back table, bring it to the clerk's desk, and please wait for your name to be called. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment. Having no one in queue for public comment, I return the meeting to the chair.
Thank you, Katrine. Do I have a motion in a second to adopt the Complete Streets Commission 2026 to 2027 work plan as modified? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Raise a hand. Thank you. All those opposed say no.
Yeah, the motion's okay. I just didn't hear the motion and the second.
I'm sorry that you're right. We didn't do that. I apologize. It's okay. All right. Do I have a motion in a second to adopt the Complete Streets Commission 2026 work plan as modified?
Yes.
A motion from Commissioner Bailey and a second from Commissioner Eric Homos. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Okay. The ayes have it and the motion is adopted. Now I'll move on to informational items. Under informational items, the city staff provides an update on matters of importance to the commission. Informational items are not action items. However, a commissioner, city staff member, or a member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. The first informational item tonight is update on major project status. Katrine, do you have any updates?
I do. We have an update on a grant. Staff has applied for a CRISI grant, which CRISI stands for Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements. This grant is administered by the Federal Railroad Commission, and it is for the quiet zone work. Additionally, we've applied for an ATP grant, which is the Active Transportation Plant Program, for Willow Road Class 4. And the other update is the Coleman survey is closed. We had over 100 responses, and that pilot project will come back to the commission in August.
Do we know post-commission when that will hit city council?
We have a goal, but we don't have control over council agenda.
Yes, we do have a goal to go back rather quickly the month after, the month following.
That's excellent. Thank you so much.
And that concludes my
Sorry, you said August for the commission for Coleman?
Katrine, can you call for public comment on that item?
Okay. If for virtual attendees who wish to provide public comment, you may engage the raised hand feature, or if you're calling in from a landline or cell phone, press *9 to raise your virtual hand. If you are participating in person, please fill out a speaker card from the back table, bring it to the clerk's desk, and please wait for your name to be called. You can then step up to the podium to make your comment. Having no one in queue for public comment, I return the meeting to the chair.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to reports and updates from subcommittees. Are there any subcommittees who have a report or update? These are report outs, an opportunity for commissioners or subcommittees to report out on their work, and there is to be no discussion or questions. Anyone? All right. If not, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:45 p.m. Thank you very much. But actually, I feel really bad. I didn't realize they were going to edit from it, so I should have given them a share.
I'm still giving you a call myself.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. No,
I needed that.
okay, I appreciate that.
I
it went to a weird place, like a weird share point. I'm gonna save it to the Complete Streets Commission, like, meeting folder.
Okay.
Because I do.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, but I think possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will there be a number? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I did this before. Or the font was a little flat.
Okay. Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, like, both my kids will.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Not like an MLM.